Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers.
Quiet.
Coming off of a year where even though the division was terrible, obviously had Tom Brady, they still won that division with a 8-9 record, I believe. Washington, the Commanders, the Cleveland, I almost called them Cleveland Indians, the Cleveland Browns, which would be the Cleveland Guardians. So I almost called them. There's been so much changeover in names, Buck. I've got them all circling through my head right now. So you've got Cleveland, you've got the Rams. Nothing's been said about them. Positive at least. And then you've got the Tennessee Titans, who we mentioned a little bit earlier. But those would be the 5 teams I feel like nothing, but just nothing on them this whole offseason.
Well, of those 5 teams, the team that I would most be excited about would be the Cleveland Browns. And the reason why the Browns are a team that excites me in terms of being one of those teams that kind of comes out of nowhere to contend is because Deshaun Watson is going to be better in year 2 than he was. Couple things impacted his play last year, and I've said this at other places. One, you can't take a year, almost 2 years off and expect that you're going to play at the level that you came back. 2, from a mental standpoint, Deshaun Watson reminds me a little bit of LeBron James in terms of when he had to play the villain role, that doesn't really fit him. If you go all the way back to when we watched Deshaun at Clemson, happy-go-lucky, smiling, very joyful, very cheerful. Early days in Houston, same way, joyful, cheerful, whatever. When it flipped and he was painted as the villain, that's not his MO. And knowing him a little bit, but I can't speak for him, I think, man, he feeds off of being liked, being respected, being whatever. And I believe that what he stepped into last year overwhelmed him, and I believe it impacted his play on the field. This season, not as much buzz about that stuff. He can lock in and focus. You will see a better version of Deshaun Watson this year than you saw last year. And quietly, what they've done on defense. Jim Schwartz coming over, giving them better structure, better organization. Myles Garrett being teamed up with Darius Smith, some of the other pieces that they have on defense. This Cleveland team is tough. And it's a very tough division. But if Deshaun Watson plays like we know he's capable of playing, man, you got to pick your poison in terms of how you deal with that offense. And then defensively, they have a defense that is built to play from ahead. So if they're able to get early leads, Jim Schwartz will find a way to get it done.
Oh, it is a really good point that you make there. I would say, just to add on to that with Deshaun, obviously a lot of it's his doing, in terms of the villain.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, that I don't know that we're ever going to see him viewed in the light that he was seen at when we knew him coming out of college and what his reputation was early in the year. That's going to forever be an issue. But in terms of the spotlight and the attention, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what it was last year, which to me, I think you'll see him be more comfortable. And the guy is talented, man. Like we've known that forever, and we've seen it throughout his whole career until what we saw last year didn't look like the same guy. For a lot of the reasons you mentioned, the layoff, the pressure, the attention, it wasn't the Deshaun Watson we had seen in the past. I think we see a better version of him, and I'm with you on Schwartzy. I think Schwartzy is going to be great for Myles Garrett. I think they got good pieces. They're good in the trenches, offensive line, defensive line. They're kind of built. They're built to win, and they're a team, again, nobody's been talking about. So of those 5 teams, if you asked me which one of these 5 teams has the best record at the end of the year, I'm with you. I would say Cleveland. The other team I would say of this bunch that I'm curious to see how they do, because I think they have a chance to be a playoff team, and nobody's talked about them as Washington. Again, for some of the similar reasons. Like that's a front. If they keep the defensive front healthy and engaged, they can take over and dominate games, man. And they've shown in what they've done against Philadelphia in that division how competitive they can be. They've got weapons on the outside. So to me, I think they're the team that's, of those 5, the teams that haven't been talked about a lot. I think Cleveland is the best of the group. But I think Washington, if you're going to say what one of these other teams has a shot, I'd say Washington.
I like the Commanders. I like the Commanders defensively because they can rush with 4 and get home. I like the fact that they are poking the bear when it comes to Chase Young by saying, we're not giving, we're not picking up the options. You're going to have to play for it. You're going to have to do this. You also have a hungry player on the other side in Montez Sweat. They paid Jonathan Allen. They paid Deron Payne. Right there, DJ, we're talking about 4 first-round picks. That front line should be able to dominate, and we've seen them dominate at times. A lot of it comes down to, I would say, Sam Howell, being able to take care of the ball. I don't need Sam Howell to be a hero. I don't need Sam Howell to go out there and say, hey, I got to put it all on my shoulders and do it. I need Sam Howell to go out there and not mess it up. The other thing, and I still worry about this part for the Commanders, I wish they could run the ball. I wish they had a marquee running back like Brian Robinson. He's fine. Antonio Gibson has been kind of up or down. I wish they had an established runner. To me, Dalvin Cook in that uniform changes how you have to play their defense, how you have to play their offense. And it opens up the field for McLaurin and those playmakers on the outside. That would be the team that if I could gift them a marquee player, I would gift them Dalvin Cook in that situation, because if he's there, it changes everything.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. You think about that coaching staff that you know very well. If you go back in their track record, all the way back to your days connected with them, they value the run game. So there is a belief in a value system there when it comes to running backs. That's what wouldn't shock me if that's ultimately where he ended up going.
Yeah, now if they can run the football, and even with Brian Robinson he played fine last year, but I'm just saying it just changes when you see a marquee player in the backfield from a defensive coordinator standpoint. Even if he's not what he once was, you still have to, hey man, we might have to drop somebody in the box. We got to be prepared. We may have to go some one-on-ones and do those things. But if the Commanders are able to run the football and not have to put it on Sam Howell, yeah, they can win some of these grudge matches, some of these low-scoring affairs, and find their way into the postseason.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see Sam Howell. I'm excited to see what he looks like. I think he's going to be a little bit better than people anticipate.